Peace, peace, peace. I am Phillip Roundtree, and you are tuned into the June 12th edition of Rhetorically Speaking. Props to those of you who are watching on YouTube. Excuse me, yo. I think it might still be smoke coming down from where was it at? Was it in Jersey, Canada? It was coming from somewhere, but I feel like it's still caught up in my whatever this section is. I don't want to say neck, caught up in my lungs or something like that. But yeah, definitely shout out to those of you who are watching on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Those of you who are watching on Facebook, although I strongly encourage you to go over to YouTube and watch it and hit that subscribe button, you can stay there. You can stay there. I know it's been a while and you're like, hey, I'm not going to go subscribe if I don't know if you coming back later in the week, because we know that's been a thing with me. So I'll give you permission to stay there. Those of you who are watching on Instagram live, again, salute you, but I definitely want y'all to go over to the YouTube side at Phillip Roundtree, Phillip. Round is in round, tree is in tree. And make sure you hit that subscribe button. You get to see all the beautiful things that I put together. It's so much prettier, right? It's so much prettier on this end. So listen, man, it's been a while. It's been a while since I've been on here. A lot of things have taken place in my life. I'm now a doctor, so you can call me the Black Dr. Phil, and not THE, not the Black Dr. Phil. You can call me the THEE, Black Dr. Phil. I don't know if it's a difference, but it just makes me feel better if you go ahead and just call me that, because we got to make that distinction between that other bull. Even though we both, our roof is missing, right? We do have that in common. Our roof is missing, but there is definitely a clear distinction. So it's been a while. Give you a brief update on what I have and have not been doing. And let me first start by saying, no, I am not at Uncle Bobby's Coffees and Books. I know it may look like it, right? I know it might look like it. That's just the background. I'm getting this office space together. And so for right now, this is going to be my background, because people know this is where I am and this is where I usually go, rather. And these are the types of conversations that I have in there with any and everybody. That's my cheers. What's his name? Cliff Clavin or something like that. So this is going to be my background for a little bit. So yeah, I've been missing in action. I've been getting my dissertation on. I've been uninspired. I've been unenthused. I'm not going to say about life, but just it's been really anticlimactic after completing this 3-year journey. I know I'm not the only person who's experiencing this. I'm starting to see so many people on social media, people that I know who are in doctoral programs, who are expressing that same feeling. It's because you've reached this apex, right? You reached this climax, and I'm not going to make any connections to to some adult things, right? And I'm not going to say adult things, but you reach that climax, and then once it comes down, it's just like, yeah, I gotta get out of here. And I'm not saying I've ever done that. I'm not saying, but I know that it's some people, or it's just you just feel unfulfilled. You pull the covers up, and you're like, hey, what's happening? This just didn't give me the gratification that I thought it would. And so, thankfully for me, I did have perspective throughout this entire process. I recognize that on the other side, I'm going to be the same old Phil. I just will have another degree added to the degrees that I already have. I'm going to have more debt added to what I already have. And so it was less of a complete fall, right? It was less of a complete fall. And so, listen, I empathize with everybody who is out here trying to achieve something, and then once you achieve it, you still have that moment of, what does this mean? Who am I? And ultimately, you're the same old you, but you will just have some things added maybe to the end of your last name. You'll have some things that you're able to tell people. And that's why it's important to find some type of internal peace, internal success. I know it seems cliche for sure, but it's so necessary to recognize that the things that we value in this society specifically, they may not bring you that peace that you desire. And so you have to find peace from within. You have to find peace within community. And so that's that. I mean, keep it funky. That's not the only reason why I haven't been recording. I just ain't want to. I just ain't want to. I've been discouraged by what I've been seeing in the social media space and in the YouTube space, and it just had this self doubt of should I come back out here again? Because it's like I got more comebacks than Jordan. Right? I got more comebacks than Jordan. So it's just like, and I come back saying the same spiel, like, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna get after it. I might be back the next day, and then you know what? You might not see me for another 4 months. And part of that again is because I've just been discouraged in the assault on intellectual folk that has been taking place not only in Florida, not only in Texas, but just around the country. And it's the dumbing down of society. But then that was the reason why I've decided to come back. And part of that is due to me being on local radio here in Philly on WURD. I've Within the last 2 months, I've maybe did about 7 or 8 days, along with my homegirl POC, who invited me on to share the airwaves with her. And being on at 7 in the morning, which drive time in the morning is a prominent spot. People are that in drive time. Those are the two spots in radio that you definitely want to have. Why? Because people are in their cars, people are driving to work, people are coming from work, and they have no other choice but to listen. And that's when you have to bring your A game. And I feel like we brought our A game when we were filling in for a Philly legend, Solomon Jones, who you can also see him on CNN from time to time. And it was one caller on Friday that just passed who came on, and it was several callers who did this, and it's been individuals in the Facebook chat, but he really showed me a whole lot of love and really spoke to this self-doubt, this lack of intellectualism that I feel is taking place within society. And he's just like, brother, you got it. And that was just outside of my mama, because my mama's going to do mama things. And so my mama going to always tell me I'm amazing, even if I'm not. Right. But it was that said, listen, you got to get back out here. You got to start having these conversations again. You need to, because you have an ability to think critically, not saying everybody else doesn't, but you push people to think. And also this brother in the gym, Drew, we call him Dino. He also was one of the reasons why it was just like, yo, I got to come back out here. And what he said was, and this was like 6 a.m. because I try to get my gym in at 5 a.m. in the morning. He was like, yo, I see what you be doing. And I'm like, fam, what you talk about, fam? Dog? Like, it's like 6 a.m. I don't think you brushed your teeth. I don't know if I brushed my teeth. But you talking about, you know what I be doing. And it's like, I know what you be doing with your posts, man. He was like, you don't be telling people how to think. You just be posing stuff to have them think. And for me, it was just like, exactly. And I've been crying a lot lately just because I don't know, I'm getting closer to 40. So it makes a big difference, I guess. But when he said that to me, it was just like, aha, exactly. And it especially was meaningful for somebody within my peer group, somebody within my age range. Now, on the radio station, it was the elders. And that's why I shed a tear on Friday, because it was the elders who were saying, listen, young fella, you got it. Right? You got it. But then to hear your peers, because your peers going to be cutthroat with you. Your peers are going to be cutthroat with you. So again, that was just the tipping point for me to come back. What's this? June 12th, 2023, now at 12:35, and say, listen, I'm just going to give what I can give. I'm going to assess what I can assess, analyze what I can analyze, and continue to try and do this on a daily basis. Before we get into the topics today, and again, those of you who are watching on Instagram, head on over to YouTube at Phillip Roundtree, and it should pop up. It should say Dr. Phillip Roundtree, DSW, LCSW, MS, whatever, all the bullshit that really I don't really care about, because again, I already been certified by some elders, so that's enough for me. But you'll definitely get a better view of what's taking place if you head on over to the YouTube side. So I don't even know what my next point was going to be. Oh, my next point was going to be, so my goal is to do this 3 times a week. For this week, we're going to do noon. And so, yeah, I got to start a little bit late because my laptop listen, I've been saying I need a new laptop now, and it's only 3 years old. I bought it during the pandemic. I've been saying I need a new laptop for about the last, folk who know me going to say Phil, for the last 2 years. Because that's just how I am with electronics. I'll keep a phone for 5 years, but a laptop, I'm just like, I'll do my research and I'll go find it. But now it picked today to really start acting up on me. And it was just like, I don't know if this is a blessing in disguise or just an opportunity for me to be wasteful with money. But we here. And so with that being said, that's why I got started a little bit later today. So I'll try to do this 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. This week it's going to be noon. I'm going to try out different times. So next week it might be 7 p.m. just to see what the engagement is like from the people, because that's really the only thing that matters. I can talk until the cows come home, but if I don't have anybody necessarily listening and engaging in this conversation with me, then what is it for? Outside. No. Because I had a conversation with my therapist about this some years ago. And she said, Phil, you enjoy this. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to enjoy this. And whether it's I'm not a Bible person. And maybe somebody could type it in the chat if you are watching. Where 3 or more, what is it? When 2 or more are gathered in his name, he's in the midst. Well, if I'm on here and it's just me, then I'm going to get my ish off. Now, I don't necessarily know if that's Jesus inspired or God inspired, but I feel good about that. I feel good about that. So this week we're going to be on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon. I'm going to try to bring in some guests, especially on Wednesdays and Fridays, to bring in a fresh perspective because, again, I know folk ain't trying necessarily listen to me talk all the time, right? So we're going to bring in so we can have some healthy, fruitful conversation. And I see Shirley in the chat. Salute to you, Shirley. And Shirley says, I won't be able to always catch lives. This will live on YouTube, Shirley. This will also make sure you subscribe to Rhetorically Speaking and the hashtag You Good Man podcast on all streaming platforms. So if you can't catch it live, you can catch it on YouTube, or you can catch it on your Spotify's, your Apple's, your Google Play Musics and all that jazz, Amazon Music or whatever it's called. You can catch it all on there. And thank you, Shirley, for the congrats. So this first story I want to get into, it just came across the wire for me this morning because, again, I was on morning radio here in Philly, and POC, Tamara, who's, again, a dope sister doing amazing things. Check out her website, revivepoc.com. She sent me this image that she got off an Instagram site, and I'm going to show you what the image is right now. So what you see are 4 black boys. They look like teenagers who are at a gun show in Oaks, PA. And I deleted the caption from the picture because I didn't agree with the caption. And I'll just tell you what the caption said. The caption said, pretty much, what are they doing there? Right? They shouldn't be there. We know they might be from Philly. We know they might be from Norristown or somewhere close, which is experiencing an epidemic when it comes to gun violence. And so when I saw the picture, I was like, damn, what they doing here? And then I had to take a step back, and I had to make sure that I'm not perpetuating anti-blackness, right? This idea that black boys, because they're at a gun show, they're prone to be criminals. Now, the parent in me was just like, do I want my child, my black boy, me being especially a father of a black boy, do I want him at a gun show? And I came away with, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Now, again, recognize exactly the epidemic that's happening in Philadelphia and across the country. We know black males are more likely to be victims of homicides, but gun-related homicides, especially in cities like Philadelphia, like Chicago. But then there's a part of me that says, are guns the issue? Or is it the mentality that one has where they would pick up a gun and use it against another person? I talked about on social media, probably, and I'll be posting. If those who follow me on social, I just be posting the post. No, I'm playing. No, I'll be posting with intent. But I posted about how I hear elders a lot of times have this conversation. Oh, back in my day, we wasn't shooting each other. That's fiction. You were shooting each other. We had fist fights. Let's go back to the good old days of just fighting. Well, first, that's also problematic, right? When we're talking about using violence as a means to navigate whatever emotion that you're experiencing. But I brought up the point that the only difference is access to guns. And so we talk about these elders who are talking about the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, maybe even the 90s. Millions of guns have continued to be produced each year. And so there continue to be, and guns just don't disappear once they're made. I always talk about how a gun from the 1700s that you might have to put a little powder in and poof, that'll kill you in 2023. So if we continue to add millions and millions of guns and they continue to be created, there's going to be opportunities for more access to guns. And so if let's say we have 10 million of guns that are on the street than it was in the 70s. If that existed then, y'all would be doing what? Y'all would be shooting each other. Because the same energy that it takes, the same lack of wherewithal, the same inability to cope with your thoughts, feelings, and emotions that it takes to punch somebody in the face is the same exact thing that it takes to pick up a gun and shoot somebody. Now, with that being said, I'm not sitting here advocating, I'm not some gun enthusiast. I'm not a gun enthusiast, but it's one of those things where if everybody else got one and I ain't got one, I'm not trying to be barbecue chicken on the other side of somebody's gun. So yes, I have been contemplating getting a firearm. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. And so when I look at these black boys in this picture, hopefully there's a parent there. Hopefully there is a parent who has the cognitive wherewithal to have conversations, healthy conversations about gun usage with these children. But yes, they can be there by themselves. If they are 18, they are allowed to be in that gun show. Shirley in the YouTube chat says, how old do you have to be to legally purchase a gun? Well, here in Pennsylvania, if you want to purchase a rifle or a shotgun, you have to be only 18 years of age. Any other type of gun, you have to be 21. And so I'm not sure of how old those young men are in this picture. But yes, they do have the ability to purchase a gun. If they're 18, again, they can purchase a rifle, they can purchase a shotgun. If they're 21, then they can purchase handguns. And so optically speaking, is this something that we want to see? I know me personally, no. Especially having a former client who I did therapy with for at least 3 years. being booked on murder charges in Norristown. He was found here in Philly maybe 2 weeks ago. And that hurt my heart. Because I wouldn't have expected him to kill somebody. And the circumstances around around the killing was like so many black boys who are victims of gun violence themselves. So he had been shot in the leg prior by someone and their friend. And he saw the friend that was there, and he pulled out his weapon and he ran around trying to shoot him. Unfortunately, he shot an innocent bystander. And now he's booked on first and third degree murder charges. Probably going to get roofed. And so part of that, for me, that was difficult to hear. Because when you're within the community and you care about community and you care about the work that you do, you internalize these things. And so I was left with questioning, did I abandon him when I decided not to be a therapist anymore? During the time that I worked with him, was there more that I could have done? And so, yes, I know folks say, yeah, you can't blame yourself. They're up against so much. That's very true. But again, when you care about community, and especially for me, no matter what space that I'm in, whether it's as an educator, when I'm in a classroom setting and somebody gets an F on the paper, because Lord knows I agonize. I hate giving Fs. My homegirl Lauren says, well, they earn the Fs. You don't give the Fs. I'm like, yeah, that sounds good in theory. But when they get an F, the first thing I look at is myself. What could I have done differently? Could have I explained the instructions better? Could I maybe have had them turn it in early and didn't review it, giving myself more work to do? So when you're out here and you're doing this work and you're engaging with people and there's lack of success in any way, you always look internally. And so that's what I've done. Because again, it hurts. But then I am a realist. I do recognize that the forces that black and brown boys are up against in this world makes it extremely difficult. When we talk about poverty, when we talk about unhealthy peer influences, it's so much that negatively impacts how they show up in the day-to-day. And so maybe my presence in his life stopped him from being booked for murder at an age younger than 19. But I don't know. But I'm not going to castigate these black boys that are in this photo for being at a gun show. And now, no, I'm not going to do the, but white folk can have their families at gun shows and take pictures. No, that's low hanging fruit. That's too easy. That's too easy of a conversation. Maybe the reality, maybe, Black Guns Matter, if that's still a thing with the bull. I forgot bull name, Maj Toure. If that's still a thing, where I think part of it was safe gun training, gun safety training, rather, within the communities. Because if you're more familiar with the weapon, are you less likely to use it in an unhealthy way? Maybe early exposure to it. It's sort of like what? It's sort of like sex. Maybe if we're sitting here having continuous conversations with children about the use of their penis, of the use of their vagina, maybe that will lead them to have make healthy use of it later on. So they're not out here learning from who? Learning from your homies, learning from your friends, learning from pornography about what intimacy looks like and what you're supposed to be doing with these parts of your anatomy. So I'm not as angry as some might be with regards to this picture. But do I understand the concern? Definitely. Because hopefully this isn't in the future for black boys who either lose their life, are traumatized or injured by the use of a gun, or find themselves behind bars. And with that said, we're going to keep the party going because this is going to be quick, fast, in a hurry. And so again, those of you who are watching on IG Live, head on over to @Phillip Roundtree on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. It'd be greatly appreciated. Now this next story, I don't even know what to say, but I'm gonna try my best. I'm definitely not gonna give it as much time as I've given the previous story. But if you see the picture of Zion Williamson that I have up here right now, I think it speaks volumes. Now, I'm not one, and my close friends will tell you, and maybe folk who see me on a day-to-day. Like, Phil, you're not the one necessarily to judge fashion. But it's just like this what are you doing? Right? And so he got on the bubble vest. I don't know if that's a dress shirt. I don't know what's happening. Where's Zion from? Zion from South Carolina? That might be the get down in South Carolina. Fashion-wise. But fashion choices aside, in all sincerity, my question is, Zion, what about the decision-making that you are participating in, which is making your life much more difficult than maybe it needs to be? So if you didn't see, Zion Williamson, Pelican superstar, and yes, he is a superstar, because when he does play, he's unstoppable. And I watched the game this year where he got hurt because it was against the Philadelphia 76ers. And he hurt his hamstring and he didn't play the rest of the year. But Zion apparently has been living life. And it's not to make light of what's taking place because, again, these types of things are stressful. I haven't necessarily experienced this, but I've definitely made unhealthy choices, unhealthy decisions in my intimate relationships that have brought me unnecessary stress. And for Zion, what is supposed to be a joyous occasion, him announcing the gender of his child with his girlfriend, turned into a SHIT show. So Zion, like many people, on his Instagram, his official Instagram account, which does show that, hey, he's looking forward to being a father potentially. He posted the gender reveal. It was elaborate. It was dope. But apparently, he was dating somebody on the side. And the reason why this woman is making waves is because she is an adult film star. Okay? I'm not going to say her name. I haven't watched her videos. I'm not shaming sex workers by any stretch of the imagination. You do what you got to do. Right? You live life. But unfortunately, he's being shamed for various reasons. Number one, because he did the gender reveal knowing that he has somebody on the side. And not only having somebody on the side, but somebody on the side that has receipts. And so again, when I say players F up, oh wait, this is my show, so I can say it. Like Day said in Next Friday, players fuck up. And so you talking about somebody, listen, I got caught up having receipts in all different cell phones back in my early days. Dumb. I ain't have my dome straight. Right? And that goes to the title of this episode, Guns and Butter. So if you remember in the movie Baby Boy, Ving Rhames' character, Melvin, when he was talking to Tyrese, trying to school Tyrese, Jody, like, oh, you ain't got your dome straight. You got to make sure home is okay. Whatever's happening on the side, if you're going to do that, you need to make sure you got all your bases covered. But you got to recognize the guns and the butter. And somehow Zion got mixed up. He got the guns and the butter, and he just trying to have it and live life. But it caught up to him. Because the sis, she got wind. She saw the video. And she came out on Twitter. And I looked just an hour ago. She's still on Twitter, going ham, bringing up the receipts, the promises that he made to her, how she was trying to help him get into shape. The most recent tweet that I read was she was coming at the child's mother. Now, I don't necessarily know if, again, I'm not from that school. Like, he's the one who needs to be the focal point, not making comments about the child's mother, because she probably ain't even know. But talking about how you were smoking weed and you've been doing all of this stuff and I've been trying to help you. And it's just like, whew. And that's all you can do. So when we go into this idea of just decision making, it's and I saw the meme of Ja Morant and the 30 for 30 with him and Zion. And I'm not going to get into that because, again, it was, did I chuckle? Maybe. Maybe I chuckle because I'm human. But we wonder if these brothers are crying out for help. And I'm not going to pathologize this situation. Because sometimes you just got to learn, right? Zion can't be any older than, 22, 23 years of age, maybe? And so part of this journey of life is making mistakes. Now, ideally, when the mistakes that you make, they don't necessarily negatively impact others or cause harm to others or cause harm to yourself. But you're going to make mistakes. And so I'm not going to go out here, I'm not going to put my therapist hat on and say, well, he doesn't have a male role model to teach him differently. He's a young person who got a whole lot of bread. He's desirable. He's in this space with women some folk can only dream of. And he got caught up. And it's not necessarily shooting him bail. But what it's saying is players mess up. And now what should be a priority should be this significant other who has a history of her own, albeit a violent history. Like one of those social media people who boxing people, fighting people naked and all that jazz. And so it makes you think, again, when we're younger, and I can speak from, I'll use I statements. You think the arguing is cute. I can't be with somebody if we not fighting. Fam, I'm almost 40. Ain't no way in hell I'm arguing with anybody at 40. Ain't no way in hell am I being with somebody who out here fighting in the streets. Again, not casting any aspersions against this sister because I don't know her. But again, when you're young and you dumb and you got money and we just don't make the best decisions. But I hope for Zion's sake, I hope for his child's sake, because we know that individuals don't necessarily, they may use children, the child as a pawn. I mean, she's set up for her lifetime because she has a baby by Zion Williamson. Not to say that she set out to do that. They could, and I saw the maternity pics, they could really have a healthy relationship. That life of fighting could very well be behind her. But this needs to be a teachable moment for the young brother. Because you don't want to be making these same mistakes at 32, at 42, at 52. Because why? Because then people are going to say you just dumb. And you just lack the wherewithal to make good decisions. Let's see what's being said in the chat. It says, I don't know why Zion is being clowned. He hasn't done anything illegal. It just needs to be more selective in his dating choices. I mean, when you're in the public eye, your decision making will always be under scrutiny. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. And so if you have visibility and you're making mistakes like this, and some people might say, again, if I want to get into my F-boy bag, because I probably had an F-boy era or experiences where I was an F-boy, even though people think of me as a great person, I probably didn't make the best decision. But I know what I'm not doing. If I know I'm out here texting a sis saying I'm going to move you down to New Orleans, I am not posting my baby shower video to my socials. Because what is that doing? That is hustling backwards. But again, if you come from South Carolina where, you know, you've been on this AAU circuit, you've gone to white institutions your entire life, from high school to Duke, and now you thrust out into this spotlight with vultures. And I'm not saying these sisters are vultures, because what it sounds like is, it sounds like the sister who may still be in the adult film industry, like she really loved this dude. And she really wanted to see him succeed. And so you can't go around here playing with people's emotions, because then what'll happen? You know, they come to your front door like Jill Scott. And that's exactly what's taking place right now. She's bringing it to his front door like Jill Scott. And it doesn't appear that she's letting up. Because I'm not going to quote what that brother we got on timeout in Chicago for the nastiness that he was a part of. But they say when a woman's fed up, it ain't nothing you could do about it. And this woman is clearly fed up. Let's see what else. Does anybody believe he was giving that woman $107,000 monthly allowance? Listen, I wouldn't be surprised. Because if you're a young brother and you got disposable income like this, well over $100 million. What's $107,000? You could easily go get that back from a commercial. So, yeah, I just wish him the best, right? Maybe I say this in all sincerity, Zion might need some therapy. Any brother who goes through this, any sister who goes through this, any person who goes through this, you might need to sit down and talk to somebody, because this is a lot. This is a hell of a lot. And as we get ready to get out of here, it is 1:04, but we got a late start today. And again, those of you who are watching on YouTube, on Facebook, head over to YouTube and hit the subscribe button. IG folk at Phillip Roundtree. Yeah, I think that's my name. And those of you who are on the streaming platforms listening, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you like the episode, share it with your peoples. So again, I ain't looking to monetize. I'm just trying to spread the good gospel of critical thought. That's all. Now, this last one is a feel good story. So I was driving, and I was just like, I had my YouTube set up, and it came across Babyface, Tiny Desk, and this is what I heard.
I only think of you on 2 occasions.
What's that?
Last day and night. I go for broke if I could.
I came across the Babyface Tiny Desk, and let me say, I was jamming for the 29 minutes that it was on. I can say that I learned so much about Babyface, because Babyface isn't necessarily my era. Like, I do know some Babyface songs, but then they started doing him, Tank, Shantae Moore, and whoever this Avery Wilson person is. Never heard of Avery Wilson a day of my life. They were singing background for Tank. And whoo, it had me thinking I could do some runs. Because that's how amazing it was. So I might have to go check out some Avery Wilson songs. But it did a magnificent job. And I'm sitting here like, yo, he did End of the Road. He did I'll Make Love to You. I know he did the Whitney joint. I didn't know he did Mary J. Blige, I'm Going Down. And so it's just like the pen is unmatched. Babyface's pen is unmatched. And it just makes me more upset. It makes me more upset that I didn't get the opportunity to see Babyface in concert with Anita Baker back in early May. And I don't think I did a show then, but back in early May, I was one of those people who was at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. Got there at 6:15, me and my mama. It was a Mother's Day gift. 7 o'clock came, 7:30 came, 8:30 came, and we still sitting in the lobby with everybody else. By the time we get to our seats, it's about 8:50. The person comes out who now I was told wasn't related to the Prudential Center. They told us that Babyface would not be performing so Anita Baker could have more time. And he got booed unmercifully, as he should. Right? I did a little boo. I tried to do a run. Boo. My mama might have booed. I saw her in a different light because I never saw my mama boo somebody before. Right? Ultimately, I did not end up seeing Anita Baker. I found out my mama didn't even like Anita Baker. She wanted to see Babyface. And once it was announced that Babyface wasn't going to be there, she was good to go. And we ended up leaving probably around 9:15. And all we got to do was have some jokes. Again, it was still quality time. Oh, you know, I love my mama. But it was like, fam, these was floor seats. I have the reputation of being what? I'm not going to say the C word. But some folk might say I'm cheap. Why? Because I go to Amazon warehouse. I go to the discount stores. I go to the clearance section everywhere I go. Because listen, why pay more when you could pay less? Hey, if Payless was still open, I might be rocking some Paylesses. But I paid $450 for those floor seats. But thankfully, the next day, and I encourage you to do this if you ever find yourself in this situation, it was just like, I'm not going to sit here and call the Prudential Center or do anything like that. I went on and did he did Mary J's Not Gonna Cry. Now I'm Going Down. But what I did was I went on the Better Business Bureau and I wrote a lengthy dissertation about not being able to see Anita Baker and Babyface because we had to leave because we was there for three hours of some change. And that got back to the people that it needed to get back to. And just maybe about last week, my bread was refunded. So always make sure that you advocate for yourself. Right? Because I know in this economy now, I ain't got that bread to be thrown away. And it's straight like that. Listen, I appreciate you all for tuning in for this good old, what was this, 45 minutes. That's good timing. Good old 45 minutes. Hopefully in the upcoming shows that we do, we'll have the call-in line operable. I couldn't get it together, but again, it's a work in progress. I'm committed to coming back. So make sure you subscribe on YouTube at Phillip Roundtree and on your streaming platforms, Rhetorically Speaking, and the hashtag You Good Man Podcast. We got some dope stuff coming up with that. Got a new co-host for the hashtag You Good Man Podcast. So I'm looking forward to that. You can check that out at some point this week. But just stay up to date. Follow me on all social medias, Phil_Roundtree. Until next time, peace.